Welcome to Women Advancing, part of the Advancing Diversity series available on MediaVillage.org, on YouTube, and also your favorite podcast platform. I'm E.B. Moss, and this week's guest is Christine Martino, Chief Revenue Officer at Screenvision. Christine, hello.
Hi, Evie. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. We have a dual purpose here because, Media Village is well known for thought leadership around media, marketing, advertising, but also around advancing diversity. So this is going to be a little personal, a little professional about you personally as an inspiration under the Women Advancing banner. And then professionally, we'll talk to you being a chief revenue officer. How's that?
No, I love it, and it's always hard to believe that you are a woman advancing. But I've been lucky and fortunate in my career to be sitting in this seat. So I
I
can't wait to
think
chat with
at this point you're a woman advanced.
you. I look, there's always room to grow. That's what I
That's
like
right.
to say. I was like, we're always keep growing.
And hopefully we'll get some of that advice about how we can grow other women. We need more of that, right?
Absolutely. It's like we love to see strong women kind of can raise their hands and speak their voices up and be able to, advance in their careers the way that we've been fortunate enough to ourselves.
Agree. Yes, yes. But let's start with the short story of Screen Vision because that's going to frame up the professional and people will really recognize how you did advance in your career. So, since you're the CRO, what is your big promise to advertisers? What's the point of differentiation and the story of Screen Vision?
Sure. So, cinema is a truly unique platform in the video space where we really span audiences from really the overall kind of organic video landscape where we're working with advertisers that are operating in the broadcast, linear, CTV streaming, and even digital and data spaces across the cinema platform. So Screen Vision represents just over 14,000 cinema screens across the country with about 2,400 movie theaters. And we air a 20-minute pre-show that runs prior to the trailers, where that last kind of 5 to 10 minutes, really when lights are down, attention at its highest. You have moviegoers watching that big screen and national advertisers able to really display their 30-second, 60-second long form creative. We have a captive audience of about 30 million people per month that are actively there, coming to the movies, excited, paying to spend time with friends and family and going to theaters and have that captive audience that we're able to deliver for our national advertisers on really the biggest screen in media. 40 feet plus. That's what we
I
like to
love
say.
that. Your big brand message is 40 feet big. That's cool. And speaking of big, I want to address the elephant in the room. I know that like concerts and sports and movies are the big three kind of IRL draws of live audiences. Speaking of, big, are we back to pre-pandemic days? What's going on with audience size?
Sure. Look, I think, it goes without saying, but movie going is the number one in-person activity. So 2/3 of Americans go to the movies.
Mm.
That's over 200 million people. Last year, they bought 900 million movie tickets. So that's, six times
Wow.
more. Six, right? I was like, it's 900 million movie tickets were sold last year. So
Okay.
anyone that says it's not back, 900 million movie tickets. And if you really look at that, that's six times more live fans than all ticketed professional sports and more than double all live concerts in
Wow.
2023. So, and look, that takes Taylor Swift into account in the concert. So, I always like to laugh that even she made her way to the big screen last year, last
What a
October.
good point.
As people know, I was like, even the biggest concerts out there and sporting events out there, the big screen is really what attracts them. And
Hmm.
you're seeing these audiences that were craving that sense of togetherness, that sense of, again, consuming media with friends, family, I think there's a wonderful nostalgia factor to cinema as well, where people will remember the first movie they went to, whether it was as a kid on a date, the first time they brought their kids to a movie. We all have these amazing memories at the movies, and it really leads to the fact that people are captivated and passionate about that big screen and storytelling. And it's what leads our audiences to just paying attention while they're there. It's the part
Oh,
that they're disconnected.
yeah. I wanted to ask you about that because I think that there was some buzz about that. You've done a couple of studies now on the effectiveness of attention, and there's some newfangled tools to measure attention, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really believe that, one of the strongest value propositions that cinema has to offer is how high our active attention is. And I think, right now everyone's talking about attention in media, right? It's the
Hmm.
buzzword of the last year and a half at least. But I think it really comes down to kind of what is attention in media. And, attention truly is that metric that's going to measure how engaged an audience is with the advertisement, right? So people understand when you're talking about cinema, of course, people are paying attention to the movie, but what they might not realize is just how much attention is actually being paid to the ads that are prior to that movie. And that's
Hmm.
really where Screen Vision comes in, is we're creating this 20-minute show, but you have these audiences there, these young, influential audiences that are really disconnected from the rest of the world at this point when they come into the theaters, and their eyes are glued to that screen. They're not connected
Hmm.
to their phones. They're not looking for short 8-second clips. They're there to be entertained, and they've paid money to see content, premium video that they want to see and that they've chosen to see. So
Yeah.
what Screen Vision's really done is come out and conducted, to your point, quite a few research studies at this point with various, attention metric companies to really prove out that cinema has the highest active attention of any media, any video media out there right now, with 84% as our active attention benchmark, which means that of a 30-second ad that's running in the cinemas, people's eyes are on the screen during that ad, 26 seconds of that 30-second ad. That's,
Wow.
I mean, that's it. 26 seconds, you're literally getting people to watch the entirety of your ad, where at best on CTV and streaming, you're seeing 30%
Yep.
active attention. Linear is getting about 40%. So cinema is differentiating itself by being more than double linear, almost 3 times CTV and streaming, and 6 times that of digital and social, where you really have people that are scrolling and passing by. The audience in the movies is it's watching those ads, and they're absorbing that, and that's really what that active attention is delivering for advertiser.
Watch how I'm going to thread this needle now. So we are paying attention, we're staying in one place, we are focused. And that reminds me of your career at Screen Vision.
I like it.
So,
I was like, don't forget, Evie. I started very young. I started
yes,
right.
that's right. Because it's like almost 20 years at Screen Vision.
Yeah, I mean, probably what's been, the true arc of my career at Screen Vision, because it's been nearly 20 years that I've been here. When I first started at Screen Vision, and I know this topic of our talk today as well is about women advancing in their careers. I started at Screen Vision as an account executive
Hmm.
about 20 years ago, and have really seen not just my career advance, but the cinema industry
Yeah.
is advanced.
Yeah.
When I first started at Screen Vision, cinema was considered out of home. It wasn't even truly digital out of home yet. We still had film reels
Oh,
that
slides,
it was a
right?
slideshow and film. And,
Right.
it was you either bought the carousel, like you would be watching someone's family vacation that your grandparents would show you at home, or we were part of the film reels, and advertisers would have to pay $100,000 in production just to build out those film reels. We would ship them all over the country, and over the years, what we had two challenges there. The first was the industry itself. So the studios were really the ones that demanded and took charge to bring the industry to digital, and that
Uh-huh.
famously came back in about 2010. James Cameron with the first Avatar was the first kind of truly saying it has to go out on digital projection, and the theaters themselves had to pick up the cost to convert to digital projectors. What that allowed Screenvision to do then is to change our dynamic. No longer were we more of that static medium. We were able to finally truly digitize and brought in who we were able to speak to. And back in about 2012, 2011, 2012 was the first time we were able to truly go into video buyers, where this was, the traditional linear video buyers. There wasn't really streaming or CTV yet, but we were able to kind of take cinema at that point out of home and really bring it into the video buyers and offer them a new alternative when there weren't a lot of other alternatives to kind of that linear broadcast cable, in terms of advertisers, 30, 60-second units to be placed.
Yeah.
And, Screenvision at that point was, able to finally step into the upfront market where we had never, cinema had never been considered on an upfront basis because it was never considered in the traditional video space before. So it was really exciting to see that evolution happen. And again, dually in part with the industry itself needed to evolve, and that was for the best of the studios and the theaters, in order for them to continue to make revenue and be able to display that amazing premium video. And then on the side of Screenvision as the seller and distributor of those advertisements, really kind of forging our way into the video space and learning the differences between how that space is sold versus the traditional out-of-home space.
I bet like your approach to selling had to change, right? So it's not like you were exactly knocking on doors, but the entire ecosystem of who you called on the agency side probably changed, and is still changing as agencies figure out their digital teams and this and that. And now you sell programmatically as well, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I will tell a very quick story, but back probably one of the first advancements in my career was when we were an out-of-home company and we had to become in a very short window of time a video company, right? We had to be competing against the NBCs and the Viacoms, and those big broadcast networks and cable networks of the day. And, frankly, most of the sellers and management at Screenvision didn't know that world at that time. And I think, one of the ways that I was able to advance my career was to raise my hand and be able to say, I am excited to take on this challenge. I would like to learn it. And it's something that, I will openly admit at the point I was not well versed in. I always wanted to be a student of the industry and to continue to learn. And, back in about 2010, when we were first really making that advancement into the video space and really trying to go after TV dollars, because back then TV was king, right? Like that was the number one, that's where every dollar was being spent. I had raised my hand at Screenvision and just said, this is something I want to take on and I'll figure it out. And it was simultaneously when Reno Scanzoni was running Group M and had decided that cinema, they were the first agency to really decide that cinema needed to come out of their out-of-home group at Kinetic and be placed in the video team, under Sherry Cohen and Jason Malpe at the time. And they, at Screenvision, they kind of tasked me with this role. And at Mindshare, they tasked Melissa Shapiro and said, the two of you need to get together and you got to figure it out. And we kind of sat there. She was running theater at the time, which was a big spender in cinema, but had never bought cinema because she was on the TV side. And, her and I pretty much got in a room. And about 2 weeks later, we came up with some plans on how cinema now fits the broadcast model and we can make this happen. And it was something that her and I, or hopefully that she agrees, was a proud stepping stone for us during back then when we really had to evolve and we were able to speak each other's language. I think she taught me a little bit more than I could have taught her, but it was definitely the first real step forward for cinema of really saying jump in head first. You're going to be in video or it's not going to work. And we figured
a woman advancing.
Exactly.
So actually, how would you sum up that lesson If you just look at the component parts of that, you raised your hand, you collaborated. What are the other elements that you think led to that success, and how you would advise another woman to follow suit in today's digital world?
First and foremost, I think it's always speak up. I think, too often we're afraid if we don't have the right answers, people don't want to hear from us.
Right.
And I don't think that's true. I think that, especially as you're looking to advance in your career and grow, I think it speaks volumes for someone who's willing to admit that they don't know the answer, but they want to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really kind of the number one characteristic I look for when I have folks come to me, or I create these roundtables, and I want to hear people be able to admit that they don't know the answers, but they're going to figure it out. And
Yeah.
I think that's truly, the first advancement in your own career. I think, what probably Melissa and I were able to do in that room together was, and more so from her, and I think I learned it from her, was this idea of just being able to share and not be afraid to give away your secrets, right? To
Yes.
be able to kind of share your knowledge in this way that, you're not afraid if you explain something to someone else that all of a sudden they're going to take that and now you're irrelevant. It doesn't, sharing your knowledge or sharing your wisdom doesn't diminish what you've already accomplished. It actually just amplifies it. And now you have so many more people working towards that collective goal with this great knowledge
Yeah.
that, it begins to really transform into something more powerful in that way. And I think that was
Yeah.
probably the first real, lesson in my career that I learned of that, is to, of course, first, step up for yourself and speak up and be able to take on a challenge, even if it, seems scary or seems like it's going to let people know you didn't know what you were talking about,
Right.
but want to learn it. And then, listen to the smart people around you that are speaking with
Yeah.
experience and absorb that. And I hope that in my career, I've now reversed that role, right? And been able to really share my experiences and, the wisdom that I've been able to gather, to help someone else advance their career. And,
Right.
all tides rise. So I really think that, being able to share your wisdom and being able to allow someone else to take that and mold it and transform it into something even better is
Beautiful.
really, the ability
Yeah.
to amplify what's out there.
Was there someone within Screenvision who was a particular mentor over the years, or any other internal lessons that you learned from someone there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think throughout my career, right, I've had, various managers coming through. I will say none have taught me more about how to be a leader, and how to really work to grow the team around you and support your team. I think, my number one goal at Screenvision or anywhere that I'm at is to make sure that my team knows that not just that I support them, but that I am there fighting for them,
Mm,
with them, alongside them. Just knowing that no matter what, that I have my team's back. And that's, always been the most important to me, is that idea of that loyalty and understanding that, I know I can't be where I am without the incredible, amazing team that is there supporting me, not just me
hmm.
supporting them. And I learned that really from Katie Loria, who was
Oh, yeah.
our chief revenue officer here at Screenvision. I think Katie and I worked together for about 8 years.
Yep.
As she advanced in her career, I advanced alongside her and really saw for the first time, a female leader at Screenvision that wasn't afraid of having another female right behind them.
Yeah.
And instead, I was able to see her really propel me forward. And she gave me opportunities to be in front of the board well before probably, I was ready to, or, the board thought I was ready to. And I think that those opportunities are things that I'll always remember, that,
Yes.
she was really one to say, I want you to have a voice. They should know what you're actually contributing, and versus just her being the face of it, and being, that voice back to the board. She was very big about sharing that responsibility,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
allowing me to have a voice. And I think that's really taught me that, no matter what, giving that, or being able to share that experience with other people, gives them the empowerment to realize that they're good enough to do it.
You mentioned in the beginning, and you talked about it again in the pre-show, and good content that speaks to an increasingly diverse audience. Is that front and center? Because I missed asking you about that.
Yeah, so sorry. So Screenvision, we have our network of theaters. So, representing about 200 million people across the country that are moviegoers. And we air our pre-show, which is front and center. So front and center really puts a spotlight on content and entertainment and everything Hollywood. And what we do there is really partner with what we find relevant and synergistic entertainment companies that will entertain our audiences. Because again, they're there, and it's 20 minutes, right? So
Okay.
you don't want to see 20 minutes of ads. We do a really good job of creating that show to speak to the audiences about what they care most about. So it's a great way for us to utilize our full show, but be able to work with brands to really say, if you didn't invest, in Moana 2, in those big media sponsorships that, are years in advance, you can
Yeah.
still align with Moana 2 through Screenvision and our partnership with Disney, and offer a brand the opportunity to showcase exclusive behind the scenes content, or be adjacent to this great content. Because it's all about, again, creating that high attention and making
Right.
sure that moviegoers are there, they're paying attention, that they feel that the show is there to entertain them. It's not, something that is obtrusive and has to be
Intrusive. Yeah,
watched,
yeah.
really.
But then you're also getting them when they leave the theater. So here's a question for you also. Um, I think about sitting at the theater and I think about awareness marketing, but now you have performance opportunities too. And I think you have something called AMP that will take it even beyond the theater. Talk to me about brand demand and extensions and KPIs.
So cinema at its core is big branding, right? We're a massive screen. It's a massive audience. It's huge reach. And that's really, what, when people think about cinema, immediately an advertiser is going to assume, it's big branding, it's big reach, it's awareness. But what we've been able to do is also bring that kind of down to that bottom of the funnel, and really say, there's attribution in cinema. And yes,
Yeah.
it's rooted in that high attention, but there's so many aspects. So at this year's upfront, Screenvision was able to announce, our introduction of Screenvision AMP. And AMP really combines, for the first time ever, all of our first party data. So we've had all of this data from movie loyalty programs, all the credit card data, everything that we've brought together, combined with geofencing and just all of this data over the last 5 years. AMP brings all of that data together and creates a digital suite of solutions really designed specifically to amplify the message kind of throughout the movie going experience. So it's
Okay.
in the lobbies when you come in, it's on the big screen when you're in the auditorium, and then it's beyond, right? So right now, we're working pretty extensively with interactive shoppable QR codes that will be throughout the theater
Oh,
on the big screen. And we're seeing huge return because people are there and they're watching that screen, and you've got this
yep.
QR code, so people are engaging. So just really a way to say that the message doesn't stop the moment that someone leaves the auditorium, that brand message can really be amplified throughout that moviegoer's routine. And the proof is really then back in the fact that we see that attribution come to life through those studies to really say, it's sales lift. We're being able to see, anywhere from a 14% increase in sales lift by running in cinema. And it's because that message really carries throughout that experience and that moviegoer's journey.
Well, I don't think anyone could be better spoken about screen vision because you've had 20 years to ingest it all. That was phenomenal. I have no doubt that everyone that comes in contact with you enjoys working with you because I've so enjoyed speaking with you. Christine Martino of Screen Vision, thank you for joining me for this Women Advancing conversation. It's from Media Village. It's a nonprofit education foundation serving the advertising community. And thanks again for watching. And thanks for letting everyone know that they can watch or listen at advancingdiversity.org, mediavillage.org, YouTube, and of course, your favorite podcast platform. I'm Evie Moss, and it's been a pleasure.